Hello, I'm Erik Robey.
And I'm Karla Schaffer, and this is Anne Arundel County Week in Review. Making headlines this week. We received some sobering news this week that Northrop Grumman plans to lay off as many as 430 employees at its Linthicum and Annapolis plants in the next month. The actual number depends on how many workers take early retirement, but this is yet another indication that the economy is still struggling. County Executive Leopold promised to do everything possible to help the displaced workers. This year, he increased funding to Anne Arundel Workforce Development Corporation, which provides job training and placement. Speaking of the programs, the county executive said, "The coming of the U.S. Cyber Command to Fort Meade offers an opportunity in that we can retain some of these Northrop Grumman employees to start new careers." Last summer, Workforce Development provided assistance to 41 Northrop employees and 24 got jobs. The agency has added career centers around the county and improved its cybersecurity training courses. If you'd like to find out more about these training and placement services, call 410-987-3890 or visit us online at www.aawdc.org.
Well, if you live in North County, you probably noticed the brigades of yellow bins charging through Riviera Beach this week. It was part of a new pilot program by our recycling division that will provide new 65-gallon containers with lids and wheels to the community. The county delivered 1,700 containers in Riviera Beach alone. This follows deliveries to 3,000 other communities since September, including Marley, Sun Valley, and Twin Cove. This month's deliveries will be made to 38 additional communities, including Hillsmere, Annapolis Roads, and designated communities in South County. Speaking of the initiative, the county executive said, "Our recycling program has been such a great success that our residents need bigger containers. In just 4 years, our residential recycling rate has increased from 32% to nearly 40%. We are hopeful that with this added convenience, the recycling rate will continue to rise." By the end of the month, the goal is to deliver more than 12,000 of these bins to designated locations throughout the county.
Well, this week in Hot Topics, the Anne Arundel County Fire Department responded to 1,502 calls for service. This included more than 1,127 emergency medical calls and 156 fire calls. Flames and smoke billowed through 2 Arnold and Severna Park neighborhoods as firefighters worked to control fires that severely damaged 2 single-family homes. With us now to tell us more about these incidents is Division Chief Michael Cox of the Anne Arundel County Fire Department. Chief?
Thanks, Karla. On Friday, February 25, 2011, at approximately 3:15 p.m., Anne Arundel County firefighters were summoned to the 1500 block of Riverdale Drive in the community of Winchester for a reported dwelling fire. The first unit to arrive on the scene reported fire coming from the front side of a 2-story single-family dwelling. At that time, an exterior fire attack was initiated by the first arriving crews, and additional resources were requested. In all, it took 42 firefighters from Anne Arundel County, Annapolis City, and the Naval Academy about 45 minutes to bring the 2-alarm incident under control. There was 1 resident home at the time of the incident, and they were able to escape without injury. The fire, which originated on the exterior of the home, quickly spread to the attic space and caused an estimated $225,000 in damages. The cause of the fire has been ruled accidental and is being attributed to improperly discarded smoking materials. In a second incident this week, Anne Arundel County firefighters were called to tame an early morning blaze on Monday, February 28, 2011. In this case, firefighters responded to the 100 block of Severn River Road just before 3 a.m. when the homeowner called 911 stating his house was on fire. The first unit to arrive on location reported smoke throughout a 2-story single-family dwelling. At that time, a second alarm was requested and an interior fire attack was initiated by the crews, bringing more than 50 firefighters from surrounding departments to the scene. Firefighters were able to place the incident under control in about an hour after arriving on the scene. There were 2 people and 2 pets home at the time of the incident, and all did escape without injury prior to the fire department's arrival. However, 1 firefighter did suffer minor injuries as a result of the incident and was transported to Baltimore Washington Medical Center for treatment and evaluation. Karla?
Thank you, Chief. These men and women sure do have tough jobs, and they do them well.
Absolutely, they do them very well. Well, folks, there's more Week in Review to come. When we come back, we'll be speaking with District 6 County Councilman Chris Trumbauer. Now take a look at the community calendar for what's happening around your county. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I'm tall enough to reach the light switches. I'm big enough to brush my teeth by myself. I'm the tallest kid in my class. I haven't worn diapers in years. I'm much less likely to vomit at random now. My cups don't have lids anymore. Mine either. I'm getting pretty big. But to help me survive a car crash, I still need you to give me a boost.
Until they're 4'9", use a booster seat in the car and don't let them down.
And welcome back, folks. Well, a few weeks ago, as you remember, we sat down with our new County Council Chairman, Dick Ladd. Well, this week in studio, we have our special guest, the councilman from District 6, a government employee turned riverkeeper, now turned elected official, County Councilman Chris Trumbauer. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot, Eric.
Thanks for joining us. Tell us a little bit about your unique background. Looking at all the candidates out there, a lot of times you get lawyers, you get business owners, but you, I think, are one of the most unique councilmen I've met in my 9 years in government. You've got a background that's, well, let you tell us about your background.
Well, actually, the whole council is very interesting. If you look at the backgrounds of all of the new members, they're very diverse. There's not a lawyer in the bunch. You know, me personally, out of college, I got a degree in chemistry, of all things. So I'm a scientist, first and foremost. I went to work for a small business, so I got 3 years small business experience, and then I left that to take a job with the Department of Natural Resources in Annapolis, doing water quality monitoring of the Chesapeake Bay and the rivers and streams. It was a great job, and eventually rose up to run my own monitoring program there. And did that for 9 years, and then I left that job to pursue what is now my current job, which is the riverkeeper of a nonprofit organization down in South County, the West Road Riverkeeper. And so I've got that I think good mix of small business, government, and nonprofit experience, which I think is a nice, well-rounded background.
Certainly helps.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
So how do you use that background then for the different legislative aspects of the job?
Yeah, well, first off, I think my training as a scientist is very helpful as a legislator because, you know, we get presented with a lot of opinions and issues, and I think having that analytical mind and being able to look at the issues and really find the heart of what the data is telling us and helps guide making good decisions. But certainly having the experience of running a small business, as you guys all know, small business is really the backbone of our economy. And so having spent some time in that sector, I can appreciate those issues. And then, I find that people that don't work in government sometimes have a hard idea understanding exactly how it is that government works. So that 9 years at DNR really gave me some good background to learn how not just county or state or federal government works, but just the general process. And then with the nonprofit experience, you really are doing a lot with a little resources. And these days, you got to do that for government too.
Absolutely. Well, we talk a little bit about, it's a new council down there now, 5 new members. Yeah. You guys have seemed to jump into these tough issues with both feet. And how is the council mixing right now?
Well, it's really interesting because I mentioned earlier, we have a pretty diverse background, so we're all coming from different places. And because 5 of the 7 of us are new, there's a certain breaking in period, I think, and we're still learning, I think, how to work together. We're still learning how to disagree and how to work together to try and get over those disagreements. But for my part, I've been trying to work with individual council members and find out what their priorities are. And some of them have approached me because of my environmental background and asked some questions about different things. And I think it's going to be a somewhat involved process to all work together and try and get good things done for the county. And I do genuinely believe that all of us are really in it because we feel strongly about making the county better. And we might disagree on political things or how to get there, sure. But I do think that we're all genuine and we're in this because we want to do good things.
Well, 3 months into it, you've got a bill in that's coming up for a vote Monday night dealing
Sure.
with cell phones. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, my first bit of legislation. There was a situation where there was a neighborhood in my district, and there was a cell tower that was put on an open space parcel that's actually a camp. And the community had fought against that and lost, and they were able to build the tower, and they accepted that. And then several years later, a different provider came and now wants to put another tower on the same open space parcel. And I went through the administrative hearing process and then the Board of Appeals, and now I believe it's still in the judicial system. So I'm very careful not to interfere with that particular case, but it did bring that issue to my attention. And I thought to myself, you know, we haven't got a whole lot of open space left in this county. And so I worked with the Department of Planning and Zoning, and I worked with our council staff to see how we might be able to find some additional modest protections to put on our open space, just to prevent them from having multiple towers going up on there. So we've got a bill in. We're going to have a good public debate about it, and that's being heard Monday. So I'm looking forward to it.
Good.
So what are the other issues that you plan to focus on, and I guess the issues that you think Annapolis and the county in general faces?
Sure. Well, the overarching thing, the umbrella issue, is the economy. I mean, everybody will tell you that. But you know, once we all accept that, then there's a lot of interrelated things that I've been concentrating on. Education is very important to me. My wife is a teacher, and I have 2 small kids, and so I have selfish reasons for that, but I think that's really the greatest investment we make into our future. And with times being tough, we're really going to have to make good decisions on how we spend those resources and make sure that we're doing the best that we can for our next generation. Another personal thing for me is transportation. Sometimes, you guys might know, I ride my bike to the council meetings. That's one of the privileges, I guess, from being the local councilman. But I really think we have to start growing strategically and make sure that as we have new growth and development, we're connecting our communities with transportation choices, not just building these places for, you know, for our automobiles. So I'm going to be working on that and trying to you know, build some momentum behind that, and those will probably be some of the things I'm working on.
Well, great. Your district is unique in that you have the city of Annapolis and the city of Highland Beach.
Yeah.
2 municipalities, incorporated municipalities.
That's
within your council district.
I think I'm the only one that has.
You are the only one in Anne Arundel County. Congratulations, by the way.
Hey, thanks.
Tell us a little bit about how representing those citizens, being that they're also represented by another body of government, can be rewarding and challenging at the same time.
Well, that's absolutely right. I mean, I think it presents some opportunities for collaboration that are very helpful. But there are challenges whenever you deal with a whole nother layer of government, because the things that each level of government wants may not be always the same thing. I mean, the county and the city may not have the same end goal in sight. But I've been reaching out to the city aldermen and trying to meet with them to learn what their issues are, how we can collaborate and work together. I think we can be good advocates for some common things that we care about. I have a good relationship with the mayor. We're trying to work together. So I just think the number one thing that we can do is have good open lines of communication and work together whenever possible. And if there are issues we disagree on, at least we can do so constructively and try and get to a place that we can all live with.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Councilman, we've definitely seen your active interest in the community and your active interest in the legislative process these first couple of months on the job. Anything that coming into this position maybe you're surprised about now? Something that you look back and you say, wow, I didn't know that the council did that, or wow, I thought the council would do this.
There hasn't been anything too eye-opening, but I can tell you one of the things that I really appreciate that I didn't have, that I wasn't thinking about is the council staff that's there to support us. We are really privileged. Each council member has their full-time legislative aide, but there's also 4 or 5 other folks that staff the office that provide support. And, I mentioned I run a nonprofit, and I mean, we have, there's one other part-time person, right? and me. So just having people there to help and to be a resource, and also using the other county, the county departments to go to for information. I really enjoy that relationship and being able to work together to try and get things done. So that's been a pleasant surprise.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you're off to a great start. Thanks for joining us on the show, and best of luck with your legislation on Monday and everything else you do over the next 4 years, and hopefully 4 more after that.
Well, looking forward to coming back sometime, and we'll talk about my accomplishments, right?
Absolutely. Always good to have you.
Great. Thanks, Eric.
Wonderful. Well, folks, we're going to go ahead and take a break. And when we come back, there'll be more Week in Review, so stay tuned.
There's a place not so far away, a place where you don't have to keep the volume down. You'll find all sorts of creatures in this place without have to. The silly you, the proud you. You may even meet the curious you.
It's tickling me! You!
Ask your parents to take you to this not so far away place. come to the forest, where the other you lives. But first, stop by discovertheforest.org.
Welcome back. In this week's Police Beat, officers responded to a robbery at the Glen Burnie Walmart at 2:30 in the afternoon on February 28th. Joining us now is Public Information Officer Justin Mulcahy with further details on this investigation. Justin.
Thanks, Eric. When officers arrived on scene, they spoke with a victim, an 85-year-old female from Brooklyn Park, who indicated that she was attacked by a male suspect while loading items into her vehicle in the parking lot at the Walmart. Now, during the incident, the victim was pushed to the ground and the suspect unsnapped her fanny pack from around her waist and fled towards West Ordnance Road in a vehicle that was described as a white, full-size van with no windows on the sides or the rear. The van was also displaying an older-style Maryland registration plate. Several officers canvassed the area but were unable to locate the suspect or the suspect vehicle. The victim in this incident sustained no injuries during the robbery. Anyone with information on this incident is asked to contact the Northern District Detective Unit at 410-222-6135. The suspect in this case is described as a black male in his mid-30s, approximately 6 feet tall, with a clean cut, also thin build, last seen wearing a green sweater. We're going to move on now to our second incident, which took place on February 17th around 12:55 in the afternoon. That's when officers from the Eastern District responded to the 4100 block of Mountain Road in Pasadena for a report of a recovered purse. Officers conducted an investigation and determined that the recovered purse had been stolen from a shopping cart at the Safeway that was located in the 4200 block of Mountain Road. A customer shopping at the Safeway placed her purse in the shopping cart and left it unattended briefly. That's when two suspects stole the purse and fled the scene. It was learned that the suspects took the purse to a restroom on Mountain Road, emptied out the contents, and stole several items. Officers were able to obtain video surveillance of those suspects. Fast forward now to February 28th. That's when the Anne Arundel County Police Department released surveillance photos of the suspects to the media and the public. As a result, detectives received numerous tips from citizens who recognized the suspects on the department's Facebook page and from local media coverage. Furthermore, as the investigation advanced, a citizen who saw both suspects on Facebook contacted police as he recognized two suspects matching their description inside of the Royal Farm Store that's located in the 8400 block of Fort Smallwood Road in Revere Beach on March 1st around 1 a.m. Officers located the two suspects a short time later in the area of Elizabeth Landing Way in Gambier Harbor with suspected marijuana and drug paraphernalia. Both suspects were arrested and charged accordingly. Detectives are looking into the possibility that the suspects may be responsible for other thefts, and the investigation is ongoing. First suspect in this case is Dustin Bauman, age 19, of 7792 East Shore Road in Pasadena. The suspect was charged with possession of controlled paraphernalia, possession of hypodermic syringes, and possession with intent to use paraphernalia of drugs. Suspect number 2 is Jillian Renee DeFalba, age 19, of 1226 Michelle Circle in Millersville. The suspect was charged with possession of marijuana and possession of paraphernalia. As always, if you have any information on anything we mentioned on the show, don't hesitate to call, email, or text your tip to Metro Crime Stoppers hotline. That number is available 24 hours a day, toll-free at 1-866-7-LOCK-UP, or you can text message MCS plus your message to crimes at 274-637. Also visit the website at www.metrocrimestoppers.net. Remember, phone calls are not recorded and callers remain anonymous. You might even be eligible for a cash reward of up to $2,000. Back to you, Eric.
Thanks, Justin.
This week, Mary Felter talked to Sherry Torciello of Kin Connections. Mary?
Thank you, Karla. Today, my guest is Sherry Torciello, who is the Kinship Navigator with the Department of Social Services. I've asked her on the program today to talk about Kin Connections. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mary. Pleasure to be your guest today.
I understand Kin Connections is really about maybe a grandparent who is raising a grandchild or a niece or a nephew. It's someone who's maybe not a direct relative of someone. Is that a good definition of it?
Yes, the population that we're speaking of today are relative caregivers. So it's any adult caregiver taking care of a relative's child on a full-time basis. Could be a grandparent, could be an aunt and uncle, cousin, godparent, nephew, neighbor, step-parent, yes.
And so how did Kin Connections get started? What is the program exactly?
Kin Connections got started in Anne Arundel County about a year ago, and the process was that we were awarded part of a grant. We were one of 7 counties to be fortunate enough to be awarded a grant through Maryland Department of Human Resources. We took last year to have a recruitment phase in which, spearheaded by our director, Marcy Kanai, she started to facilitate a steering committee that would meet as an advisory board to develop things like a resource manual, start getting the ball rolling for support group criteria for kinship caregivers, and to make other advisory decisions. Out of that, we have actually partnered as an Anne Arundel County Department of Social Services with 3 other county partnerships, and those include Anne Arundel County Department of Aging and Disabilities, Anne Arundel County Board of Education, and Anne Arundel County Recs and Parks.
I wanted to ask, what are some of the problems that the relatives might have when they first take in a child?
Well, what we have understood from the kinship caregivers directly speaking to us, because it's very important for them to have their voices heard. We started having some focus groups back last year in the late spring. And what we heard from them is that they really are a population that still feels rather alone. They still are challenged with who can they talk to about their new situation, about the child entering their home? Is it safe to talk to the school system? Is it safe to talk to some faith-based organizations? Is it safe to talk to their neighbors about it? They really are crying out for more of a support system than they have. Other issues are intergenerational differences. A lot of the relative caregivers have had children before, but they're grown up now, they're out of the house now. Times have changed as far as regulations, as far as entering and enrolling in school, as far as what immunizations you need now, things like that. Other things are, a lot of times the children enter a relative's home rather unexpectedly, rather quickly. So there's not a lot of time to plan. There's not a lot of time to think about the preparation of how long the child may be in my home. Certainly some children are there from birth or infancy. Other children enter the home at a rather abrupt time in their life. It's very different. So we've found that the caregivers share many of the same challenges, but there really isn't a puzzle that each experience can just fit into. Everyone's experience is different.
And sometimes the caregiver themselves have to change their lifestyle a lot, and that is a problem. They might have to stop working or change their hours for work, or what are some of the other problems they're facing?
Yes, there are other hardships, such as some caregivers are in the phase of retirement and they may have to go back to work. Other caregivers have suffered some kind of physical ailment themselves. We have caregivers that range from in their 20s up to in their 80s. So depending on how they're feeling at their stage in their life, physically, emotionally, socially, a lot of changes have to be made.
So how do they connect with you, the kinship navigator? What do you want people to do who are in these shoes that they're wearing now?
Well, there's a couple of avenues. I have received phone calls from self-referrals, just individuals throughout the county that are taking care of relatives' children, and they have heard about my name, Cher Torciello, and my phone number at Department of Social Services is 410-897-3933. We also look to our partners throughout the county to make referrals themselves or to give the caregiver my phone number and they can call on their own time. And again, those partners are the Department of Aging and Disabilities, the Board of Education, and Recreation and Parks for Anne Arundel County. So we have overwhelming support throughout those organizations.
This is strictly voluntary. Nobody is forced to participate in the program, and when they call you, you will set them up with someone who can help them navigate. That's why you're called a kinship navigator.
Yes. What I really strive to do is to eliminate the question for the kinship caregivers, the question being, where do I turn next for help? So one of the avenues that we took as an agency is to develop a Anne Arundel County Kinship Care Resource Guide. And really this is a guide for no matter where you are at in the experience of taking care of a relative's child. It should be easy to identify where I turn next for help. For example, in the areas of where do I find legal assistance, where do I find assistance on education enrollment, where do I find assistance on recreation park, youth advocacy, mentoring programs, where do I find resources for myself? How do I, continue to take care of myself and be supported during this experience?
And mentioning the word supportive, you have 2 support group meetings coming up. You have one that's going to be on the 8th and one on the 10th of March. Tell me a little bit about them.
Sure. We actually started these groups and opened them up countywide after our Anne Arundel County proclaimed Kinship Care Resource Day by the county exec, John Leopold, and that was on October 7th, 2010. After that, we started running bi-monthly support groups countywide to any relative caregiver in the area. And we have chosen to use 2 locations, one being the Pascal Senior Center and one being the Anne Arundel County Library. So this month, we have one group coming up on March 8th, which is a Tuesday evening. That's going to be from 6:30 p.m. to 8 o'clock p.m. We are fortunate enough to be partnering with our student intern unit, who are all going to be social workers with their expertise in family functioning and dynamics. And they're going to be helping us facilitate a group on internet safety and parental controls, things like cyberbullying and how to go about doing restrictions for parental controls to protect your children and your family and to really know what's going on.
And then the event that's going to be on Thursday is going to be at 1 o'clock in the afternoon in the Annapolis Library?
Yes, the Annapolis Library on West Street. We're going to use the training room there from 1 o'clock to 2:30 p.m. And the topic for that, we have guest speaker Mary Fridley, who is owner of Jarrah Resources. She's also a columnist for the Capitol, and she speaks all around the county. So we're really excited to have her. And her topic of expertise is caring for oneself. So it's going to be about caring for the caregiver and stress management tips.
If anyone has any questions, they can call your number again to get all this information. And that number again is?
That number again is 410-897-3933. Every time that I take a call, I enter them into my mailing list so that they are kept abreast of any new kinship care information, resources, and referrals throughout the county. They can also request getting a mailing of the Kinship Caregiver Resource Guide, which is also found on the Anne Arundel County Aging and Disabilities website. And what is that website?
The website is www.aacounty.org/aging. And I wanted to let people know that we do put out a press release about the meetings, and that will also be on that website under the press release information category. Cher, thank you very much for coming on the program today and letting people know about connections and letting people know about the support group meetings. Very much appreciate your being here.
Thank you for having me, Mary. Have a good day.
This is Mary Felter, Public Information Officer for the Anne Arundel County Department of Aging and Disabilities, and you've been watching Anne Arundel County Week in Review. Back to you, Karla.
Thanks, Mary.
Karla, most people don't know this, but February, of course, was Black History Month. But do you know what month March is?
I do, just because I've cheated and I've looked. It's Women's History Month.
It is. It's Women's History Month. And in this week's Community Spotlight, B. Poland talks to Tracy Warren from the Anne Arundel County Commission for Women about what they have in store for us. B.
Well, Erik, it's March, and to you that may mean March Madness, but to me it means Women's History Month. We're here today to talk about the Women's Commission of Anne Arundel County and talk about the contributions of women in our society during the month of March. I'm pleased to introduce Tracy Warren, who's the new chair of the Anne Arundel County Commission. Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here. Now, you just were recently elected, is that correct?
Yep, absolutely.
In January, and you've taken over the helm of the commission, and you have a big commission. But first, I want to know about you.
Sure. During the day, during my regular gig, I work as a government attorney. I'm an attorney at the Department of Veterans Affairs, although I am compelled to assert that I'm not here in that capacity today. Okay. Obviously, I'm here representing the Women's Commission.
Great. Now, you were appointed by County Executive Leopold last summer or 2 summers ago?
In 2009.
Okay, and what compelled you to apply to be a member of the commission?
Sure, I was looking for ways to be more involved in the community, and I thought that the Women's Commission would just be a great way to use my efforts, my energy, to try to make a difference in the lives of women in the county.
That sounds great. Now, are you a native from Anne Arundel County, a transplant? How did you end up, and where do you live?
Sure. I actually grew up in Anne Arundel County, and I'm a statistic, so to speak, because I actually live not too far from where I grew up. I live in West County now, but I grew up right off of Quarterfield Road in Woodside West. So.
Okay, and you live in Odenton now?
I do.
Okay.
We live in Odenton.
A big booming area of our county?
It's growing quickly.
Yeah, okay. The commission is made up of women members who are appointed by the county executive. Can you tell us a little bit about who the members are?
Sure. I'm so pleased to tell you that we have such a diverse group of women, different ethnicities, different religions, different backgrounds. Medical backgrounds, women that are really just eager to serve. One of our newer commissioners actually, I think it's so interesting, she's actually had some like medical devices patented, and she's actually in the process of having others patented. We have commissioners that have retired from the federal government, commissioners that work in healthcare. So it's just really just an awesome opportunity to work with such a diverse group.
And you have a student member now. I know the commission worked very hard to have a student member a couple of years ago. And who is that student member now?
Sure. Her name is Rachel Roth, and she attends Southern High School. We're very proud of her, really pleased to be able to say that we've been able to mentor her, and she's actually working on a project to help with the enrichment and self-esteem of some of the students there, female students at Southern.
Okay. Now, if a woman in our audience hears about the commission and wants to know more about it and is interested in applying, how would they do that?
Sure, I would invite anyone interested in more information or even to apply to visit our website, which is www.aacountycw.org. There's more information on our website about the commissioners, about things that are coming up in the county. Even has information on there regarding the fact that we're recruiting for new student commissioners. There'll be application materials on there as well.
Now, if you are a student, a young woman student, what age do you have to be to apply?
We're primarily looking for juniors because the appointment would be for 2 years. They would spend their, well, I should say we're looking for students that are entering their junior year because we would want them to spend their junior and senior year with us on the commission, and we would help them develop a project as well.
So the women commissioners meet monthly?
Yes.
And where do they meet? What time?
Sure. We meet at 7 p.m. down in Arnold at the YWCA.
Okay. And the meeting lasts, what, a couple hours?
Sure, about 2 hours. We start at 7 and we usually wrap up by 9.
Now, in addition to your monthly meetings, what else does the commission do on an annual basis?
Sure. Various things. It really just depends. We've done a Healthy Heart event at the Pascal Senior Center. I'm really proud to tell you that one of our commissioners actually also serves on the board for Habitat for Humanity, and we're working on the possibility of doing a build with them in April.
Oh, that'd be fun. Let me know
Very
about
exciting.
that. We'd like to come out and help with that.
Oh, I will. Thank you.
Okay.
So just, partnering in the community, we've also reached out to Arundel House of Hope just for partnership opportunities and just other ways that we can support women in the county and their families.
Well, these sound like great opportunities for women who want to give of their time here in our county. We know we have rich resources here of professionals and lay people and women from all walks of life that can make a contribution through our commission. So I'm really excited to hear about what your goals are for the commission. And we want to repeat the website if women are interested in approaching the commission or coming to a meeting. The website is www.aacountycw.org. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And Tracy Warren is the new chair, and she'd be glad to talk to you about your interest in the commission. And I hope that you'll take this month to learn more about women in Anne Arundel County during Women's History Month. We're making a great contribution. Thank you, and back to you, Erik.
Thanks, Bea. The commission is currently looking for a new student member. To qualify, you must be entering your junior year in high school next fall and have at least a B average. The member serves a 2-year term and participates in the meeting and the group's annual retreat. This is a great resume builder. To find out more, call 410-874-7612. Women's History Month, Karla. I always, you know, it's one of those Black History Month, Women's History Month. I love history. But can you, if someone said to you, Women's History Month, who is the most memorable woman in history to you?
That's really difficult. There's so many. There's so many.
Yes, there's so many. Your mom,
my mom. Yes, actually, my mom. Mom out there, if you're watching, you're definitely my favorite woman and most influential woman out there.
Did they get Weekend Review in Michigan?
Well, of course not, but it's online.
Ah, so you can watch it anytime, online at...
You know that, yeah. And maybe some of the women, first women on the Supreme Court. So
yes, paving the way for justice.
Sandra Day O'Connor, Justice Ginsburg as well. Maybe. What about you?
Well, outside of Mom, of course, and my wife and my daughter, I've got to say Clara Barton. American Red Cross, absolutely, very good. And the reason I say that is this is one of my first memories, is that my kindergarten teacher was the great-granddaughter of Clara Barton.
Wow.
And I remember hearing the wonderful stories that she did in starting the Red Cross and moving that organization forward. So that really, for her to do that at that time was just an amazing inspiration to a lot of women out there. So, good stuff. Well, that wraps up this week's edition of Week in Review. You can watch this episode online anytime at www.aacounty.org. Archive episodes are available at blip.tv, and you can also subscribe to the free video podcast at iTunes. Please tune in again next week for more highlights and news from around the county, and we'll see you next time.